Hi, readers. Welcome to another exciting day with the one and only Ivan. We ended yesterday reading about Jumbo. Did you enjoy the story about Jumbo? Quite an interesting story. Let's continue with today's reading. So I'm on page 68, starting with the chapter called Arrival. Page 68. The new neighbor arrives after the 4 o'clock show. When the truck comes lumbering toward the parking lot, Bob scampers over to inform us. Bob always knows what's happening. He's a useful friend to have, especially when you can't leave your domain. With a groan, Mac lifts the sliding metal door near the food court, the place where deliveries are made. A big white truck is backing up to the door, belching smoke. When the driver opens the truck, I know that Stella is right. A baby elephant is inside. I see her trunk poking out from the blackness. I'm glad for Stella, but when I glance at her, I see she is not glad at all. Stand back, everyone, Mac yells. We've got a new arrival. This is Ruby, folks. 600 pounds of fun to save our sorry butts. This gal is gonna sell us some tickets. So what he's saying, scholars, is this elephant, right, is going to get people to come in, right? It's going to save their jobs, um, save Big Top Mall. Mac and 2 men climb into the black cave of the truck. We hear noise, a scuffling, a word Mac uses when he's angry. Ruby makes a noise too, like one of the little trumpets they sell at the gift store. Move, Mac says, but still no Ruby. Move, he says again. We haven't got all day. Inside her domain, Stella paces as much as she's able. 2 steps one way, 2 steps the other. She slaps her trunk against rusty metal bars. She grumbles. Stella, I ask, do you hear the baby? Stella mutters something under her breath, a word she uses when she's angry. Relax, Stella, I say. It will be okay. Ivan, Stella says, it will never, ever be okay. And I know enough to stop talking. Do you get what she means by that? Right? She's saying it will never be okay, right? Because they're stuck, they're trapped, they're in captivity, right? They're in their cages. Stella helps. Page 71. The men are still yelling. Some of the yelling is at each other, but most of it is at Ruby. We hear scrambling, pounding, shifting. The side of the truck shudders. I'm starting to like this elephant, Bob whispers. I'm getting the big one, Max says. Maybe she can coax the stupid brat out of the truck. So coax means to like convince, right? Persuade someone to do something. So he's thinking maybe Stella can persuade, right? Coax the little elephant out. Mac opens Stella's door. Come on, girl, he urges. He unties the rope attached to the floor bolt. Stella pushes past Mac, nearly knocking him over. She rushes as best she can, limping heavily, toward the open back door of the truck. She catches her swollen foot on the edge of the ramp and winces. Blood trickles down. So, scholars, she cut her foot on the metal ramp that goes up, right, to the truck, right? Can you picture it from the right ground up? There's a ramp to the truck. So she cut her foot on that. And her foot was already swollen and sore from her time at the circus. Halfway up the ramp, she pauses. The noise in the truck stops. Ruby falls silent. Slowly, Stella makes her way up the rest of the ramp. It groans under her weight. So there, scholars, is personification, right? Can a ramp really groan? No, it can make a sound, right? But it can't really groan. It groans under her weight, and I can tell how much she is hurting by the awkward way she moves. At the top of the incline, she stops. She pokes her trunk into the emptiness. We wait. The tiny gray trunk appears again. Shyly, it reaches out, tasting the air. Stella curls her own trunk around the babies. They make soft rumbling sounds. We wait some more. A hush falls over the entire Big Top Mall. Thud. Thud. Step. Step. Pause. Step. Step. Pause. And there she is. So small she can fit underneath Stella with room to spare. Her skin sags, and she sways unsteadily as she makes her way down the ramp. Not the greatest specimen, Max says. So what he means is, like, this new baby elephant's not like the best one, right? Not a great elephant. But I got her cheap from this bankrupt circus out west. They had her shipped over from Africa. Only had her a month before they went bust. So before they went bust means before they had to close down, right? They weren't making any money. They had to close down and then sell the animals. He gestures toward Ruby. Thing is, people love babies. Baby elephants, baby gorillas. Heck, give me a baby alligator and I could make a killing. So he's saying, right, make a killing, not really make a killing, make a lot of money, right, off of people wanting to come see baby animals. Stella ushers Ruby toward her domain. Mac and the two men follow. At Stella's door, Ruby hesitates, so she pauses for a moment. Mac gives Ruby a shove, but she doesn't budge. Doggone it, get a clue, Ruby, he mutters. But Ruby isn't moving, and neither is Stella. Mac grabs a broom. He raises it. Instantly, Stella steps in front of Ruby to shield her. Right, so he was going to hit Ruby with the broom or poke her with the broom, and Stella stepped in the way. Get in the cage, both of you, Mac shouts. Stella stares at Mac, considering. Scholar, stop for a moment. What do you think she's considering? Are you thinking that she's considering, right? She could probably hit him, right? Swat him with her trunk, hit him with her body, kick with one of her legs, perhaps, right? She's considering it. She's thinking for a moment about it. Bottom of page 73. Gently but firmly, using her trunk, she nudges Ruby into her domain. Only then does Stella enter. Max slams the door shut with a clang. I see two trunks entwined. So entwined is like weaved together, right? So if you think about, right, if this is Ruby's trunk and this is Stella's trunk, right? They're entwined. They're like hooked together, right? Entwined. Weaved together. I hear Stella whispering. Poor kid, says Bob. Welcome to the Exit 8 Big Top Mall and Video Arcade, home of the one and only Ivan. Old news. When Julia comes, she sits by Stella's domain and watches the new baby. She barely talks to me. Stella doesn't talk to me either. She is too busy nuzzling Ruby. She is cute, little Ruby, with her ears flapping like palm leaves, but I am handsome and strong. So did you catch the simile, right? Ears flapping like palm leaves, right? So it's comparing her Ruby's ears and palm leaves, but her ears aren't actually palm leaves. So that word like reminds us it's a simile. Bob trots a circle around my belly before settling down in just the right spot. Give it up, Ivan, he says. You're old news. Julia gets out a piece of paper and a pencil. I can see that she is drawing Ruby. I move to the corner of my domain to pout. Bob grumbles. He doesn't like it when I disrupt his naps. Homework, Julia's father scolds. Julia sighs and puts her drawing aside. I grunt, and Julia glances in my direction. Poor old Ivan, she says. I've been ignoring you, haven't I? I grunt again. A dignified, indifferent grunt. So indifferent means he's acting not very interested. But was Ivan actually interested in what Julia was doing? Yes, he was. Julia thinks for a moment, then smiles. She walks over to my domain, to the spot in the corner where the glass is broken. She slides papers through. She rolls a pencil across my cement floor. You can draw the baby elephant too, Julia says. I bite the pencil in half with my magnificent teeth. Then I eat some paper. Tricks, page 77. Even after Julia and her father leave, I try to keep sulking, but it's no use. Gorillas are not by nature pouters. Stella, I call. It's a full moon. Did you see? Sometimes, when we are lucky, we catch a glimpse of the moon through the skylight in the food court. I did, Stella says. She is whispering, and I realize that Ruby must be asleep. Is Ruby all right? I ask. She's too thin, Ivan, Stella says. Poor baby. She was in that truck for days. Mac bought her from a circus, the same way he bought me, but she hadn't been there long. She was born in the wild, like us. Will she be okay? I ask. Stella doesn't answer my question. The circus trainers chained her to the floor, Ivan. All 4 feet. 23 hours a day. So scholars, all 4 of Ruby's feet were chained down all day long except for 1 hour of the day. I puzzle over why this would be a good idea. I always try to give humans the benefit of the doubt. Why would they do that? I finally ask. To break her spirit, Stella says, so she could learn to balance on a pedestal, so she could stand on her hind legs, so a dog could jump on her back while she walked in mindless circles. I hear her tired voice and think of all the tricks Stella has learned. So she's saying, just like they did to Stella, right? When she was in the circus, right? They try to break the animal's spirit to then get the animal to do the things that they want the animal to do. Introductions. When I awake the next morning, I see a little trunk poking out between the bars of Stella's domain. Hello, says a small, clear voice. I'm Ruby. She waves her trunk. Hello, I say. I'm Ivan. Are you a monkey? Ruby asks. Certainly not. Bob's ears perk up, although his eyes stay closed. He's a gorilla, he says. And I am a dog of uncertain heritage. So he's saying basically he's a mutt, right? He's not a certain breed of dog. Why did the dog climb on your tummy? Ruby asks. Because it's there, Bob murmurs. Is Stella awake? I ask. Aunt Stella's asleep, Ruby says. Her foot is hurting, I think. Ruby turns her head. Her eyes are like Stella's, black and long lashed, bottomless lakes fringed by tall grass. Ooh, scholars, we have a metaphor in this one, right? So her eyes, it's comparing her eyes to bottomless lakes, right? Like deep lakes, but it doesn't use the word like or as. So it's saying her eyes are lakes. Now, her eyes aren't actually lakes, right? It's comparing it, letting us know how deep they are, how deep, dark they are. So that's called a metaphor, when it compares two things but doesn't use like or as. When is breakfast? She asks. Soon, I say. When the mall opens and the workers come. Where? Ruby twists her head in the other direction. Where are the other elephants? It's just you and Stella, I say. And for some reason, I feel we have let her down. Are there more of you? Not, I say, at the moment. So she's asking, are there more gorillas? Ruby picks up a piece of hay and considers it. Do you have a mom and a dad? Well, I used to. Everyone has parents, Bob explains. It's unavoidable. Before the circus, I used to live with my mom and my aunts and my sisters and my cousins, Ruby says. She drops the hay, picks it up, twirls it. They're dead. I don't know what to say. I am not really enjoying this conversation, but I can see that Ruby isn't done talking. To be polite, I say, I'm sorry to hear that, Ruby. Humans killed them, she says. Who else? Bob asks, and we all fall silent. So Bob's basically saying, of course they did, right? Who else would do that? So scholars, that leaves you reading the rest of the section by yourself, starting at page 82. All right? Make sure you do that because it'll be part of what you're working on for your assignment.